the socials there. But I'm going to do a quick introduction for our next speaker, Raffael. Studied drums and as well as worked at BIMM, was my one of the people I contacted. I won't say too much. I'll let him, he can probably talk about himself better than I can. Without further ado, here's Raffael.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Marina. Yeah, I'm Raffael, and I have the honor to speak to you or tell my story to you guys. Kind of feels a bit weird, to be honest, because I'm just talking to myself here right now, or it feels like I'm talking to myself. But I guess I just introduce myself a little bit, tell you where I come from, what I have been doing, and what I'm doing now. I guess that's the most interesting part of it. Yeah, I'm Raffael. I'm from Austria originally. Um, I come from a musical family, so music is really all I wanted to do always or ever. That was the only plan I've ever had to, pursue to have a musical career. I never really thought about anything else or didn't have a plan B. Although I went to a kind of to a business school or a business high school where I thought at least I learned some something I could use if everything goes south. Um, yeah, that was my time in Austria. So I I started to play music when I was kind of 6 or 7 years old. I started to play drums. I went to music school. I, played day in, day out. I didn't do anything else but playing drums. But to be honest, I never really practiced. I just played to my favorite songs from, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Led Zeppelin. That was kind of the thing I wanted to do. So yeah, but I had a really good teacher, and he really understood that I just wanted to play music and didn't do anything else. And when I was 16 or so, I started my first band, which was also kind of a metal band. And yeah, it was just a bunch of guys who met at schools, and we played music together, but we never really played gigs. We just were in the rehearsal room and tried to play as complicated songs as possible, from Slipknot and stuff like that. And after some time, I thought like, yeah, well, it's cool to play that music and all of that, but it would also be cool to play live and play for people, and make some money with it. And then I kind of figured out that when you play in cover bands, so to speak, in top 40 bands, that you make some money. So I started to play in cover bands and top 40 bands for some years, and I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest, but I just kept on playing because I made some money, and I enjoyed that. And yeah, as I said before, I come from a musical family. So my dad is also a professional musician, and he was in the 90s and the noughties, early noughties. He was pretty successful in Austria and Germany, but then he quit that and started his own band. And then I joined his band as a drummer, and we played many gigs here in Austria, also at big festivals like the Donauinselfest and stuff like that. And later we played a Germany tour, a small one, and that was kind of the first time when I thought like, yeah, that's really what I want to do. I wanna play music and just want to make a living of playing music. And yeah, so I did that for a couple of years, and then I thought, well, yeah, cool, but I still live in Austria, in a small town, and that's not really here. You cannot really experience much more. I mean, it was already super cool, to have all those experience playing playing live and making music and stuff like that. But I didn't really had the network, you know, to do my own music or to be able to play the music I wanted to play. So I thought I have to move to a major music city like Berlin, and then yeah, I decided to move to Berlin, and then I found BIMM, and that met very nicely because I also wanted to have like a thorough musical education. Um, until then, I only had drum classes and drum lessons and some theory lessons, stuff like that. But I never learned about songwriting, producing, and stuff like that. Although um, of course I started to write my own songs before and try to produce them, but it was only for fun, and I kind of wanted to learn that kind of at the university, but also of course connect with other people who had the same goal, and just to meet, you know, new people in a new city and just kind of, yeah, start all over. And yeah, so I started to study at BIM, and pretty much from day one on, um, I started to play in bands there, in many bands. I rehearsed as much as I could. I just played with everybody, which was super cool and super beneficial for me because I was introduced to so many new styles and new people, and playing with new people just yeah, just broadens your musical perspective immensely, I would say, and I really enjoyed that. And soon I started to play with Minty, for example. She's a electronic artist, and we started to play together pretty much at the very beginning of our studies. That was in 2015. I didn't say that. I started at BIM Berlin in year one, so I've been part of BIM Berlin since day one, kind of. And um, yeah, we continued to play together, Minty and I, and we played shows in Germany, in Poland. That's where she comes from. Um, Also in the UK, we played in the UK. We played in Italy, and that was super cool. Of course, I continued to play in other bands as well. And during my BIM studies, I also was part of the house band. Um, and yeah, what I also wanted to emphasize is kind of that I really enjoyed particularly one course or one module during my studies, which was music for the moving image. That kind of really, you know, started or ignited my fascination for film music and soundtrack and stuff like that. And it happened that I know a guy here in Austria who is a filmmaker, and after I did the first year of that module, music for the moving image, I already got like a professional project from him to make music and sound design for a video, for an image film, and later on I got a couple more projects, which was super cool. Um, and I thought like, yeah, that's also a way I wanted to pursue. I wanted to not only be a drummer, but also, you know, having like a musical career in the on the production side of music, you know, like composing or producing or doing sound design. um yeah, and um so that was during my studies, and after my graduation I continued kind of to pursue both parts, like the drumming side and the production and sound for picture side, and yeah, I try to get more session work, do live recordings, studio recordings. I played a couple of small Germany tours after my graduation. I also started to do to play like on TV gigs and stuff like that. I had one huge experience where I played on German TV at the Bambi Awards with Take That. And that was just awesome to meet them backstage, to get to know the guys from Take That and meet all the pop stars there. Like we saw or went by Dua Lipa, like at the corridor and stuff like that. So that was kind of super amazing. And I did a few of those shows. Yeah, and continue to play live and also do some sound design and stuff like that. And ever since my graduation, I have been working for BIMM, kind of. I started to help out at the assessment days, at the entry assessment days, to support those assessments, like preparing the paperwork, preparing the rooms, set up the mic, the piano for the vocal and songwriting assessments, the drums for the drummers and all of that. And I did that for a few months. And then there was a vacant place at admissions of BIMM Berlin. And then I decided to apply for that. And yeah, I got the job. And then I worked in admissions for almost a year. Yeah. So that was a full-time job. So now I had to kind of combine, yeah, playing live, playing shows, and going to work in the morning, working and then playing again at night. Sometimes it was super busy times and I really enjoyed it. But after a while, I mean, I kind of experienced super tough. So I felt, or let's say, I kind of experienced that I said no to gig offers because I was like, no, this is too exhausting and stuff like that. And after a year, I was like, well, actually, I was always trying to have a career in music, and now I'm turning down gigs and stuff like that because I have a full-time job. And then I decided that I quit my full-time job and kind of fly independent again. And that was in February 2020. And yeah, so you can imagine, I mean, at that point when I quit my job, I didn't know what will come next in the next few weeks. But I had my last day in my full-time job, like I think on the 26th of March. And then I was kind of jobless. Then, the lockdown happened, all of that. So I really had some sleepless nights. A couple of weeks before that, I start talking with a podcast label. They were looking for podcast producers, freelance podcast producers, and I talked with them. They said that they will have some work for me from April on. But then when lockdown happened and all of that, they kind of called me and said, well, we don't know right now what will happen. So unfortunately, we don't have any work for you. So I was kind of totally jobless and I didn't have any perspectives. But then also BIMM started to start virtual open days, which I was really lucky enough to be part of, and I could host some virtual open days every month. So yeah, I had again some jobs at least. But then in May or so, the situation got better. I got the podcast job, so I'm a podcast producer since then. Later, I found a a job as a sound designer. So yeah, I do sound design for some agencies, and whenever I can for other projects. And yeah, and of late, I also became like an assessor for BIMM. So I do the assessments, like the entry assessments, and decide who can study at BIMM and who not. And yeah, that's kind of it from that. That's kind of my no. One thing. Last year I also started to work on my own music. Yeah. So I've been writing and producing and all of this for a year now, and I think I'll be able to release my first record. I don't know if it will be an EP or an album. I think in September or October, and it's gonna be like kind of instrumental music, soundtrack-esque, organic electronic stuff. Yeah, and I'm intensely working on that, and hope that I can release that as soon as I can. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, and that's my story. And I hope it goes on like that. And yeah, I mean, I didn't talk too much about my podcast producer role or my sound design role. I thought, like, if you have any questions regarding that, I'm of course happy to answer them. So of course you can put them in the chat, and or however you organize that here, probably in the Q&A session. Yeah, so that's it. And I guess I didn't. Just opened the chat. I guess I didn't speak too much about my drumming career or drumming kind of thing. I'm not sure if we have like some drummers here who are interested in drumming.
And I'm sure got a few drummers here, a few people organizing, and I started with drums and then moved over to music business. So we definitely got some drummers.
Okay, cool. Yeah, shall we? Drummers, do you have any questions for me as a drummer?
I definitely got some. I love asking drummer questions, drummer to drummer. It's always fun. All right. I'll do two. All right. What's your kit setup and what's your practice routine like? I like to compare different practice routines. It's always fun.
Okay, cool. Practice routine. I must say I practice a lot. Or I practiced a lot. I always have phases, I do like sometimes I have like where I practice 2 months every day, I don't know, like 3 to 4 hours, and then I do nothing for the next 2 months. Which I found out of late that is kind of it just works for me, because when I'm in an intense practice routine, I focus on 1, 2, max 3 things. And then I just focus on that and spend all the time on this and do loads of research. Let's say on timing, or one part is timing, the other part is playing groupings in groupings, and the third one is I want to get my inverted paradiddle as fast as possible. And then I just focus on those 3 things. And then I feel like after 2 months or so, okay, I kind of explored that. I didn't really know what I achieved. And then I need some time. I need a break to let that kind of sit in and all of that. And then I just play for let's say 1 month, 2 months, just play music, try to write songs. I also started, when I started with my own music, I started to write songs on the drums. So I prepare, like, let's say a structure. I can come up with a groove and with a structure and put that down. And then I write a song, you know, I come up with a riff, I play around with synthesizers and stuff like that. And then I kind of use what I have practiced in my songs. And from there, then I take it from there. When I have recorded the songs, what I'm still missing, you know, I figure out what I'm still missing, where where I'm lacking skills or technique or sense for timing or stuff like that. And then I create a new practice routine, and then I just, you know, sit down on the drums again for 1 or 2 months. That's kind of it. On my kit setup, it's like it's different like every week. But I just play a 3-piece kick, one tom up, one down, sometimes 2 down, like 12, 16, 18, and yeah, snare, kick drum, 2 or 3 cymbals, nothing much. And then sometimes I just experiment, you know, with stacking cymbals and stuff like that. But yeah, I try also, you know, to be more creative when or achieve to be more creative when I just change my setup all the time, because that, yeah, just changes change how you play. Cool.
All right. Well, we have another question from Callum. Hey,
Oh
Rafa.
yeah.
Just wondering what some of your favorite session jobs have been, and do you have any tips for people starting sessions?
Yeah, Callum, of course, yours. I worked with Callum a couple of times and recorded some songs with him, and that was cool. Also, awesome sessions were for the BIMM album with Pete Smith. Those were totally legendary. Yeah. Then my favorite recording session was when I recorded the album with Minty in Poland. That was in 2017. And we were at the film studio there in Poland. It had a huge recording room. It was like, I don't know, there was like 150 square meters and just huge ceilings. It was so massive. The sound in there was so massive, and we had yeah, it was great. We recorded an album in 2 days. That was absolutely awesome. And any tips for people starting session work? Yeah, I would say, to be honest, especially today, I've never had a session without playing to a click track or playing to a pre-programmed drum groove. So just, you know, be prepared to play to a click track and just practice playing to a click. There are so awesome exercises which are also loads of fun, you know, to do. Not just setting your click on 120 and play a beat to it, but play around with it. Displays the click track and stuff like that. For example, check out Benny Greb. He has awesome timing exercises, and I would really recommend that. And secondly, of course, be prepared. Know what gear you bring, what instruments, what you need, all of that. But at the same time, when you prepare, let's say you prepare the songs, stay open-minded. Because when you went into the studio and you have prepared your drum track, I bet the producer will tell you, yeah, that's cool, let's try something completely else. And then you gotta be open-minded. You have to be able to adjust like everything on the fly in the studio. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work. So I think that's the most important part. Another question, did you work with Ableton triggers in a live situation? Yes, when I play with Minty, when we play live, we do that. I trigger my drums. She's using Ableton. There are also loads of loops and stuff going on, so I play to the loops. But we don't connect my triggers to her Ableton. I have my own setup. Most of the time, I just load it in my drum pad, and that works pretty fine, I would say. Yeah, but I don't work with Ableton, to be honest. I work with Cubase, so I have kind of my own setup when it comes to sound manipulation, and I use like UAD stuff, and so for me that's the best way to have direct monitoring, so that you have no latency and stuff like that. That was the only way I could achieve a convenient sound for myself. How do you protect your ears? So much drumming sounds like tinnitus alert. Yes, it does. And I've been, of course, to the doctor that said I can't hear on my right ear anymore and stuff like that. And since then, I play with in-ears. I got my first, how do you call it, molten in-ears, like the in-ears like from Ultimate Ears, for example, which are perfectly fit to your ear, to your shape of your ear. And I always use that, even if I don't need a click track or play to something, just as a protection. It really calms everything down. And I also, to be honest, when I play with bands where I don't use a click track, I don't protect my ears. And that's not good. That's not good. But I kind of need to feel and what's going on. And I also came across or I noticed that when you don't protect your ears, you can play with the room. You can kind of adjust your playing to the room in a better way. I think you can also do that with ear protection. So I really recommend always use ear protection, but yeah, I'm guilty of not using it. Yeah, any more questions?
Yeah, we still have 10 minutes before we have a break.
What's your favorite rudiment? It's an inverted paradiddle. You can't just play everything with it. I think like with this pattern, you just it doesn't matter where you throw it in. It just fits. Yeah, that's drum nerd talk. But to be honest, because I didn't talk too much about drumming, is I don't know, when I started to study at BIMM, less and less I saw myself as a drummer, even though, of course, I love drumming and love the drums and the instrument, but I started to see myself as a musician. So I didn't really, how to say it, I stopped, that all that gear nerdy things, like always have to buy new cymbals and new snares and all of that. I just figured out that when you have a Ludwig supraphonic and some other maple snare, and maybe in two different sizes, then you're fine, and when you have an awesome cymbal setup, that's all you kind of need. And then it's up to you to be creative with that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I guess we.
I got one more question. I was like to ask is like, do you have like a go-to song or go-to few pair of songs you're like, I just love fucking drumming to this one? Like, do you have any go-tos? I've got a few myself, like always fun.
Yeah. I had shit, I can't remember the name. It was a Children of Bottom song I've played for years, and sometimes I have to play it again. I don't know what the groove is it's so awesome. I think it's called Bottom Beach Terror or something like that. That was one of my absolute go-tos. And then later, Police. Just every Police song. I don't care which one, just every Police song. Yeah. Yeah, rest in peace, Alexi. Yeah, that's kind of I started playing metal, as I said, and then when I started to study at BIMM, I totally quit playing metal, totally, unfortunately. And yeah, it's maybe because of Berlin. It's too much electronic music there. Animals as leaders, yeah, too mathematical. Not to listen to, but I cannot play that stuff. Not at all. I got some lessons from Matt Garska. I mean, I just bought them on the internet. He has awesome lessons. I also recommend checking out that because his sense for time and odd meters and all of that is just absolutely awesome and not from this planet. And I don't think it's too mathematical. I don't think it's mathematical at all in that sense because it's so musical. I've never felt like this is too odd or anything like that. It's just so groovy. Yeah, it's just genius, I would say. Annika Nilles, thoughts on her odd meters, also super awesome. Of course, especially because of her quintuplets and all of that. She just made it work to play quintuplets so fluently, I would say, probably without you even noticing that she's playing quintuplets, especially when you don't know what quintuplets are, and then you just sit down and try to play that and you can't. That's also one of my one of the worst moments in sometimes when you try to play something, when you sit down behind your drum set because you think this is so awesome and then you just can't. Yeah. And yeah, to be honest, I'm guilty of not practicing this stuff because I've always kind of seen myself as I've always kind of more focused on playing stuff that I really use. And yeah, I mean, of course, that's it. I'm not the guy who says, yeah, just lay down a groove and that pays the bills and don't work on your jobs. I think that's equally important because especially nowadays, I think when you really want to become successful as a drummer, then you have to fascinate like the drumming audience, like the drummers, other drummers, not just producers and bands, stuff like that, but you gotta get big in the drum community, and you only can do that when you can play stuff like that, like Annika Nilles, or one of my absolute favorite drummers is like Noah Fürbringer. He's super young guy, and when you check out his Instagram. It's just every video, every groove, everything is playing is not from this earth. It's just so awesome. He is so fast, and at the same time, everything is so smooth. It's almost like, you know, like in the 80s or 70s, you know, when Tony Williams played this super crazy jazz stuff, and but it felt so smooth and naturally. Who is this drummer? I just type it in here in the chat, and you check him out. Oh,
all right, Raffael.
I misspelled it.
So our one comment, so we're gonna go on a break in about 2 minutes. So if there are any like final questions, now's the time to drop them.
Awesome. I hope that was not too confusing.
Well, that was wonderful. I mean, I was super excited when Nora sent me a alumni who had studied drums. I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Always cool.
Cool. So you a drummer yourself?
Yeah, I started with drums. I first started, like, that was my first course, and then I went over to business like 2 weeks after.
Oh, okay, cool. I see.
Yeah. Like I was like, I just decided, I was like, I think I'm gonna go pop over to music business and see what's happening here. So
yeah, but I think that's also one recommendation for drummers: just learn another instrument as well, and just get into writing and producing and all of that. You know, especially because we didn't talk about that. I mean, we all haven't played live shows in I guess over a year now. It's over a year. It's way over a year. I think my last was in January 2020, and so I guess you have be able to do something as well.
yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, I think that's I think we might have to wrap things up soon. About to go on a 30-minute break for all the attendees. Raffael, are there any closing points? Anything people should check out? Any promotional things? Then now it's time to self-promote.
No, it's all good. Of course, if anybody wants to connect and have a drum talk, I'm always up for that. Of course. I think you posted my website in the chat, right?
Yeah, I can post it again because it might be a little bit up in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, you can also. I don't know how can we connect on there on my website. You can find my Instagram and my Facebook and all of that. I think that will be the easiest way.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you so much, Raffael. Really appreciate your time. Amazing talk. Always love the drummers. All right, and I guess we're going on a 30-minute break, so you guys can go get your smoke break, go get your coffee, go get some lunch, and we will be back here shortly. Thank you, Raffael.
Cool. Thank you, Marina.
Thanks.
Well,
bye-bye.